Most people think they understand why they're not making $6,000 a day. They blame the market. They blame timing. They blame some algorithm they don't understand. But that's not the leak. Last week, I watched someone turn down a $5,000 opportunity because they were afraid it wasn't, quote, aligned with their brand. They made $19,000 that month. They needed $6,000, and they walked away from nearly a third of what they required because of something invisible. That something is what we're here to talk about. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The difference between someone making $200,000 a year and someone making $220,000 isn't hustle, it isn't talent. It's usually accounting for the leaks nobody talks about. Think about it this way. $6,000 a day isn't even that much money anymore. It's $2.19 million a year. There are 12 million people in America making more than that right now. 12 million. It's not rare. It's not exclusive. So why does it feel impossible? Because almost nobody is actually measuring where their money is supposed to go versus where it actually goes. And the gap between those two numbers is a chasm. The average person loses between 18 and 37% of their potential earnings to what I call invisible friction. Not taxes, friction, the stuff that happens before you even see the number. Let me show you how this works. When you're building toward a $6,000 daily income, you're making decisions constantly. Should I take this client? Should I scale this offer? Should I hire this person? Should I pivot? Here's what happens. Most people use the wrong architecture to make these decisions. They ask themselves, does this feel right? Or is this aligned? Or my personal favorite, will this help me reach my goals? These are feeling-based filters, and feelings are expensive. A woman I know consulted for $5,000 a month with one company for 2 years. She was wildly unhappy. The work felt misaligned, so she quit to find her passion. That's $60,000 she walked away from. Then it took her 14 months to rebuild that income elsewhere. 14 months of zero $60,000 baseline while she figured things out. The math here is brutal. She didn't gain anything. She lost opportunity cost plus time plus compounding. She felt better emotionally, sure, but the leak was real. Now, I'm not saying take work you hate forever. I'm saying most people use emotion as their primary decision filter when they should be using math first, then emotion. If something pays $5,000 a month and it's slightly annoying but not harmful, the leak is asking, how do I get this to feel better? When you should be asking, how much would I need to make elsewhere to justify leaving? The answer is almost always higher than you think. There's a second leak that's even more invisible. It's what I call adjacency loss, and it works like this. You find something that works and makes money, then you spend time on things adjacent to it because they feel productive. A content creator makes $8,000 a month from a small audience, pretty decent. Then they decide they need to build community, so they spend 30 hours a month on a Discord they're not monetizing. They decide they need to establish authority, so they write 100 articles nobody sells. They decide they need to diversify, so they build a course that takes 6 months and sells 3 copies. Meanwhile, the core thing that actually makes money sits there generating $8,000 a month while they're exhausted. The leak is the opportunity cost of those 30 hours on Discord times whatever hourly rate would get them to $6,000 a day. That's $250 an hour. 100 hours of work a month that doesn't map to revenue is a $50,000 leak. That's your entire $6,000 a day target and then some. Most people are working 800 hours a month, and only about 200 of them are actually generating income. They've organized their entire operation around being busy instead of being lucrative. Here's the strange part. When you actually measure this, when you look at a spreadsheet and see community building equals $0, people get uncomfortable. They'll defend it. They'll say it's important for long-term growth. They'll say it's building brand equity. Maybe, but brand equity doesn't pay rent this month. The leak is that we treat all work as equal when economically it absolutely is not. The third leak is quieter. It's identity pricing. What you believe you're worth directly determines what you ask for, and most people's sense of worth is completely disconnected from actual market value. Someone will say, "I want to make $6,000 a day," and then quote someone $500 for work that would take a highly paid consultant 3 hours. That's about $56 per hour. They're pricing themselves like an assistant while aspiring to earn like a strategist. The gap between your real value and your believed value is a leak. Sometimes it's a $50,000 leak. Sometimes it's a $300,000 leak. A developer I know charges $18,000 for a project that Fortune 500 companies pay $250,000 for. Same work, same outcome. Different belief about what it's worth. She's not underpaid, she's underpriced, and the leak is permanent until the belief changes. The math here is almost too simple. If you increase your rates by 30% and lose 0 clients, you just increased your annual income by 30%. Most people don't lose clients at 30% increases. They maybe lose 1 out of 10. So you're up 27% while working the same amount. That's not a pay raise. That's a leak finally being sealed. Here's where it gets interesting. Everyone talks about leverage, scale this, automate that, build systems. But most people are trying to leverage from 0. They're trying to build a course before they've validated the content, trying to scale a service before they've actually figured out what the service is, trying to hire before they've systematized anything. This creates a specific leak, the leverage tax. You spend 3 months building infrastructure for a business that doesn't exist yet. You spend $20,000 on tools and software for workflows you haven't actually proven yet. You hire a VA to do work you don't understand well enough to delegate. The leak is that you're paying leverage costs on a non-leveraged business. Someone tried to launch an online coaching business. 6 months, $40,000 in software and course platforms and funnel builders. 3 students. They made $19,000 total. The leak is $31,000. They weren't ready to leverage yet. They needed to manually deliver, perfect the service, understand the outcome, then leverage. The order matters. Almost everyone gets it backward. Real leverage happens when you've already proven the unit economics, when you know exactly what drives a sale, when you've delivered the thing enough times that you understand what actually works versus what you think works. Before that point, systems are just expensive overhead. So here's what this actually means. Most people trying to make $6,000 a day are losing 18 to 37% of their potential to these 4 things: decision architecture based on feelings instead of math, adjacency work that looks productive but generates 0 revenue, identity pricing that undervalues what they actually offer, and leverage premature to the point where you're paying to build infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. Take someone making $200,000 a year and remove just 25% of the leak. That's $50,000. That's an extra $600 a day. You're not far away. You're just leaking. The person who reaches $6,000 a day isn't necessarily smarter or more talented. They're usually just more honest about the difference between busy and lucrative. They measure the leak and then they stop pretending it's not there. Most people know exactly where their leak is. They just don't want to admit it because admitting it means they have to change something. The question isn't whether $6,000 is possible. The question is whether you're willing to look at where $6,000 is already leaving.